and 12 online. And thank you all for spending this rainy day with us. But I think you're going to find you're going to get some good information. We've got an amazing speaker, and as always, good food. So we will start. In case you don't know me, I'm Jana Goldman. I'm the chair, and sitting next to me is our secretary, Louise. In case you haven't met her, she's fabulous. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all someday. All right. All right, I've got a couple of thank yous. First of all, Pam and Ron donated our new refrigerator here in headquarters. So, thank you for that. It's a huge step forward to keeping to keeping us cool. But we have the old refrigerator. It's in the little office here. If anybody wants it, take it. Just snag it. Put your name on a Post-it note and take it. If it is still in the office by Tuesday, then Pete's going to recycle it. So if you want it, have it, enjoy it. Sei gesund, live and be well with it. Mike Hertz, thank you very much for getting us a new American flag for outside. Apparently and evidently, our old one was really showing being worse for wear. And I think that flag is reflecting pretty much how a lot of us feel about what's happening to our democracy. So, we do not want it in tatters. We do not want it raggedy and tattered. We want it beautiful, strong, and clear. So thank you again, Mike Hertz, for doing that. And of course, we have the amazing people to bring food. Thank you all, because activism runs on its stomach. So we need good fuel. So thank you all again. I'm going to ask Jan, who is our volunteer coordinator, to come up and talk to us a little bit about some of the things she's got going with volunteers. Now that we've got a lot of our snowbirds back and more people are getting active during the summer, we're seeing more activity here in the office. So, Jan?
Into the mic.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So those of you who are interested in volunteering and getting involved, you can either sign up on a paper form. I can pass this around, and they're also on our beautiful website under Get Involved. There's a form for volunteering for Benzie Dems. Things that you can get involved with are postcards, letters to the editor, working at our desk, canvassing, pop-ups, and providing food or anything else, fill in the blank. I want to say that last year, from between June and December of 2024, we had 1,214 visitors to headquarters, and I want to thank all the kind women and men who volunteered to sit at the desk, answer the phone, answer questions, and if they didn't know the answer to the questions, they knew who to refer to and give a call or an email. Starting Monday, June 2nd, headquarters will be staffed Monday through Friday, 4 hours per day, a half day instead of full days for the time being. And I will be sending out emails to prior volunteers who did some staffing, and anyone else who would like to be involved, let me know. The office will be open afternoons, 1 till 4, Monday through Friday, except on Thursdays, it's going to be open from 9:30 until 12:30. And if the open sign is on, we're probably open, or if you see our glorious American flag flying, we're probably open. We're encouraging our volunteers to fly that flag. Let's see. Other needs coming up, on May 31st, there's a training that's being held here in person and Zoom. And we are it's called the Treasurer's Training. It's just for special people who are involved with the money aspects of anything political. But I will be looking for someone to handle the cash box that day and help with setup and cleanup. On June 13th, Friday, in the afternoon, 1 till 4, we'll be making some signs in preparation for the No Kings protest Saturday, June 14th. We are looking for marshals for Saturday, June 14th, i.e. people wearing neon vests to help with parking and crowd maintenance. Chris Kitzman is in charge of data entry, and I'm going to remind everyone that if you're involved with putting data in or using VAN, which stands for Voter Access Network, otherwise known as Vote Builders. Anyway, if you're involved in VAN, please sign into your account so you don't have to request having access to that. If you don't use it once a month, then you have to approximately once a month. If you don't use VAN, then you have to reapply for entry into that database. Now, Susan Koenig later this morning is going to talk about the July 4th parades. People often ask me, when are the 4th of July parades? Well, they're on the 4th of July, and it's Frankfurt in the morning. We meet at Graceland Fruit approximately 9:30, and in the afternoon we're at Beulah, and we meet behind the Government Center at approximately 1 o'clock. Susan will be asking probably for captains who will, definitely show up at the parades to help oversee signs and props. So once again, you can sign up to volunteer either on the website. It's a beautiful website, or you can just sign up here if you haven't already. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jan. So you can see already we have a jam-packed.
Just one second. Just a reminder to folks in the room, if these microphones are for the folks online, it doesn't amplify anything in the room. So if you're using one, you need to speak with your outdoor voice.
Am I not speaking with my outdoor voice? Oh, okay. I have been told that sometimes I am exuberant in my speech. So as you can see, we've got a jam-packed summer, a hot Democrat summer, as they're calling it at the Michigan Democratic Party. A lot of things to do, a lot of ways to get involved. And this organization runs on volunteers, and there are things large and small that you can do to contribute. And I am just so grateful for everybody's participation. So no matter what you do, you're making a difference. You're making it possible for us to do the things that we're doing. So, bravo to all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn this over to Louise just to talk a little bit more about the June 14th event. This is in conjunction with Flag Day, but also the Felon in Chief's birthday. He's having some big multi-million-dollar military parade in Washington, D.C., and we're going to observe this occasion in our own special way. So.
Hey, everybody. All right, good people of Benzie. Are you ready to exercise your First Amendment rights? Yeah, June 14th is the date, and we are mapping out the route tomorrow morning, and we will send out information early in the week, next week, on the email list, and probably posted on Facebook and in other places as well. And of course, the event, the theme is No Kings. Right, No Kings. And this is tied in with the 51 and Indivisible. Everybody's doing No Kings all across the country. So we want to be a part of that. So if you're having a deep need within your heart to tell the King of Con that he needs to stop breaking laws and start following the Constitution, please come and join us. We're asking people to bring your own signs, bring your own water. You can bring a noise-making device if you want. Those are kind of effective sometimes. And then we're looking for marshals to guide folks. I think she mentioned it just a little minute ago, but I have a sign-up sheet here. If anybody is willing to be a marshal, which just means you wear a little reflective vest and you're kind of a point person to make sure we don't want people walking out in the road, and we want to keep it peaceful. Absolutely. We are not like the other side. We are a peaceful people, so we want to keep it peaceful. Yes? We don't know yet. So we have not made the final decisions, but I'm going to pass around this sign-up sheet. And please, if you can, sign up to be a marshal. That would be great. And pardon my spelling. I spelled it wrong.
And pardon me, where is it going to be taking place?
We don't know yet. That's what the rally group is going to
Okay.
be meeting tomorrow. We're going to figure out where we can go, what we can do. I'll be honest with you, our options are decreasing and they're limited, as some places that apparently were sympathetic seem to be wanting to distance themselves. So we want to be visible, we want to be safe. So that's what we're going to be looking at tomorrow. We've got some ideas. We're not down, there's still things we can do. So, but we need to run through and see how this is going to work to make sure that, your time isn't going to be wasted when you participate. So more details to come, but just put that on your calendar if it isn't already. Jan also mentioned the treasurer's training that we're having here on the 31st, and this is for chairs and treasurers, deputy treasurers, anybody who's involved with finances. We are doing this to assist the Michigan Democratic Party. So this is an event that we're hosting here, and it's on Zoom, and I think we've got maybe at least 20 county chairs from across the state and their treasurers who are going to be here for this training. So, we're the hosts. We're offering the house, and we're very, very happy to do it. And I will be there. Paul will be there, and I think Keith is planning to come. We don't have an official deputy treasurer yet, but we're hoping to have one soon. So that's what's going to be happening here on the 31st. So that's why the office will be closed essentially on the 31st during that training. Also coming up, there's a lot of things coming up. We're looking for a June speaker. We're looking at either Mark Brewer, Curtis Hertel, or you might remember last month, Julie Wolf, who's the tribal counselor of the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians, came, and because of timing, we weren't able to really hear her. I think she's got a lot to say and a lot to offer, so I've extended an invitation to her too. So at this point, we don't have a June speaker, but if there's anybody else that you want to hear, please let me know. Just come up and talk to me or send your suggestions through our email, which is benzedemocrats@gmail.com. We've been really fortunate. We've been able to attract some amazing speakers, including the person you're going to hear shortly. But we have kind of raised the standards for regular meetings, and we want to continue that. So thank you again. Also on May 21st, the Michigan Democratic Party Senior Caucus is going to be hosting a Learn Over Zoom event to talk about Social Security funding and the threats facing it on a national level. If you want to register for this meeting, let me know. I've got the link here. I'll see if Louise can put it in the chat. But it is something that if you are interested, obviously a lot of us are interested in the fate of Social Security. This might be something that you might want to attend. The other thing I've got would be our scholarship dinner. We did have our scholarship dinner, And unfortunately, I was unable to attend because I was ill. I understand it was absolutely lovely. Marcy did an amazing job with the decorations. The food, I understand, was very, very good. The service went great. The attendance was down a little bit. And I don't have a final tally of how much we raised. Paul, do we? Tomorrow? All right. A lot of things happen tomorrow. Paul will have a final tally for us, but we didn't make anywhere near the record that we did last year. I'm interested in why people didn't go. And if you want to share that publicly, fine. If you want to tell me privately or through the website, that would be fine, because it's concerning. We are fortunate that we do have money to fund the scholarships this year. But, you know, it is concerning, and we want to know if there's any corrections or any changes we need to make in order to make this the wonderful event that it really is. I mean, it's definitely a worthy event. People have supported it enthusiastically in the past, and we're just trying to see if there's a problem and correct it early on. So, anybody have anything else? This is going a little faster than I thought. Any questions, comments, concerns? Jim?
I'm just curious, the people, when you said about, showed some concern about having the march in front of their place, or however you want to put it, that they don't want us there. Is there a specific reason that they gave why?
Political. They don't want to be associated. These are neutral areas, but they don't want to be seen as promoting something political.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Jan, I have a quick question too. With the scholarship fund, do you think you
Yeah,
could,
stand up in front
you
of the
could
camera.
run
Keep telling
real
me.
quick, explain how people get the scholarship? What the process is for getting that scholarship?
Yes, Judy,
Okay.
thank you. We'll
Judy
be
knows
more
that.
than happy to tell me.
Hi, everyone. I think we've done this for 8 years now. We have a topic about the common good. We usually give graduating seniors 4 different things they can write on, 2-page, double space. They have to research, and then we take the essays, and a team of us go through them and figure out who we think is worthy of the $1,000 scholarship. So this year, we had enough for 3 $1,000 scholarships. And then we decided to add 2 $1,000 scholarships for people going on to trade school. We've never really gotten kids who go on to trade school to write an essay. It's not in their wheelhouse. They don't want to do that, I guess. So after this many years, we decided just to ask the schools to recommend one person from each school going on to trade school, and we have 2. So this year we gave out 5 scholarships, which is $5,000. Every year it seems we raise the amount we can give because we've had such success with the dinner. So I'm glad Jana mentioned that. We need to figure this out for next year. But thank you for your donations. Even if you didn't come, we had a lot of people donating to this worthy cause. So I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you, Judy. Paul? Our esteemed treasurer is coming up. Well, he can sit. There you go.
Oh, I'll stand.
Oh, you can't see it.
Hey. Oh, I see. Hi, everybody. So just to say that we got pretty enthusiastic last year with the success we had fundraising. And I think that's what encouraged us to add the number of scholarships this year. That said, we're going to be pretty broke after giving out those 5 scholarships. So the onus then is on next year. So we were going into this year saying, we've got all this money, and which we won't have next year. Just a reminder that hopefully we'll have a very successful fundraiser next year. Okay.
I was gonna ask if we can accept donations anytime, like now until, yeah.
You bet. And that's a great idea too. Um, Making a donation in honor of somebody, in memory of somebody, or just because we accept donations for the scholarship fund as well as just our general operating expenses anytime. Believe me, Paul is willing to accept it anytime.
If you're going to do that, just remember to put scholarships or whatever you're doing it in the name of in the bottom left-hand corner of your check so that I know where to put it.
Thanks, Paul. Any other comments or questions? All right. Well, we are so fortunate, and Jess, I know you're online, and this is coming up a little earlier than we thought, but I'm so glad that you were here earlier. Many of you know Jess Piper. This woman is absolutely amazing. She's the executive director for Blue Missouri, a grassroots fundraising organization that supports Democratic nominees for Missouri State Legislature. In 2022, she ran for state representative in HD1 in Northwest Missouri. She was a former teacher, and she has really taken off in the past couple years with her advocacy, and talking to and about rural communities just like ours. She has been on the road. She has talked to all sorts of people, and we are just so delighted that she is here with us today. Please welcome Jess Piper.
Hi, friends. It's really good to see you. I found something out today that Benzie County in Michigan is actually in the Eastern time zone. So not only am I early, I'm really early. I thought it was going on in an hour from now. But it's so good to be with you guys today. Thank you for representing rural parts of the country. I'm from rural Missouri. I'm right on the Iowa line. I'm in the middle of cornfields and bean fields, and I've come to you today to talk about what we can do to really help rural America, but in the process, push the entire country back towards democracy. So there's something that I think is really interesting. The New Hampshire Institute did a study last year, and they said that if 3% more rural people would have showed up and voted for Kamala Harris would be president right now. 3%. And so when we see Democrats walking away from red rural areas, we have to understand this is the lowest hanging fruit. Our neighbors are the ones that can absolutely make change in not only state elections, but national elections. So my entire purpose right now is getting Democrats to come back, show up, have candidates on the ballot, run, knock doors, talk to your neighbors, show them what democratic policies can do for them. We're not just anti-Trump people. We are trying to spread democracy throughout the country. And the way we do that is straight through rural parts of America that a lot of times the Democrats have said, it's too red. You know, we don't want to compete there. So, like you guys said, I was a teacher for 16 years. I never planned to do anything else. I taught American Lit. It's my absolute favorite. But in 2018, Missouri passed a total abortion ban with no exemptions for rape or incest. And I was angry. So I called my state representative who signed the bill, and he wouldn't call me back. And I texted, I was sending him messages on Facebook. I was emailing, I was calling, I was doing everything I could to get a hold of him. He would not answer me. He would not have any response to me. So we wrote a letter to our local paper, and I decided that I was going to out myself as a pro-choice person and a teacher in a small community. And I wrote a rebuttal to his comments in our local paper. He still would not contact me. So I was sitting at home one day with my husband, and I said, hey, would you call Alan? Of course, my husband was like, I don't really want to call Alan. I said, please, just call him, because he won't talk to me. 20 minutes later, my husband got a phone call from Alan. And you can imagine my feelings at that. So my husband, who is a very good man, said, you know what? My wife is the one that's trying to get in touch with you. Would you call her? So he called me and I lit into him. I mean, I was nailing him to the wall. But I'll tell you, he said two things that I will never forget. He said, I don't have to talk to you, and I called you out of a favor to your husband. And I think I probably passed out. I don't know what happened for the next 30 minutes, but I realized that, you know what, friends? He was telling me the truth. He didn't have to talk to me. You know why? Because he ran unopposed. Every 2 years, no one opposed him. He never had any competition. He walked straight to the State House and did whatever he wanted. He didn't have to listen to his constituents. He did the bidding of his donors. And that's when it really sunk into me that I was not being represented, that he didn't care. There was nothing he cared less about than my opinion. I still didn't run because in Missouri, you can't run for office and be a teacher, which is pretty convenient because it's keeping 66,000 well-qualified people out of the political process. And you also have to stay pretty quiet as a teacher, as some of you probably know. But in 2020, I went to vote for Joe Biden, and there were no down ballot Democrats to vote for. And I came home and I told my husband, if no one's going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I did. And I walked away from my career. I live in a town of 480 people. So I could go back to work, right? But I can't because I was a teacher and I talked about abortion. I talked about trans kids. I talked about the fact that gay people should be able to be married, you know, crazy stuff like that, funding education, that sort of thing. And so because I'm in such a small place, I can't go back to work because about half of the population would say, I don't want my kid in her class, right? She's this crazy lefty. So I say all that to say this. When we ask people in rural spaces to run, we're asking them to walk away from a big part of their life. People lose, and you know this because you were just talking about not being able to protest in front of certain businesses. You know how this works. You know if you run, you may lose half of your business, right? And that's why in Missouri, when we protest, we're standing on the side of the highways because no business is going to say, come stand in front of us. So we're standing in medians. There is a big push now, though, to hear from rural people, to hear what is going on in our communities. People on the coast love to hear when we talk to our neighbors who aren't necessarily crazy people, not like we're being represented, right? I talked to Jen Rubin. I've been on her show 3 times. She was a reporter for the Washington Post, and now she writes a Substack called The Contrarian. And she keeps coming back to speak to me because she just can't believe that we exist. And I see there's a room full of people that exist and vote for Democrats, and by chance happen to be rural folks. We are here. We have always been here. In fact, we were one of the first people who were progressives. I mean, you know, we come from farmers, we come from miners, we come from people who knew what workers needed. They needed fair pay. They needed earned sick time. They needed, livable wages. They needed, livable housing. They needed public education. They needed paved roads. All of these things that working class people need are exactly, and what rural people need are exactly what everyone needs. So it's coming out and telling people, we're the same as you are. We need the same exact things. I hear that you are protesting. We are too. After I log out of this, I'm driving 2 hours south to Kansas City for a 5051. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, but for one of their rallies, because what happened in Missouri is very emblematic of what's going to happen in the country. You guys, you know about Project 2025. I read most of Project 2025. We don't need tinfoil hats to see what was going to happen. They wrote it down in black and white. And do you know where they got the ideas? They started in states like Missouri. They started in captured state houses, in uncontested state houses. And they started seeing what they could do when they bought off politicians, when they bought off judges, and they just started throwing stuff at the wall to see what stuck. And that is how they got the idea. I told people for years, they're going to dismantle the Department of Education. And I sounded like a lunatic. Well, guess what they did? They dismantled the Department of Education. And your good friend from Michigan, Benzie DeVos, had a massive hand in that. And I want to tell you what they've done in Missouri. 33% of our schools are on a 4-day week. 33%. We are 49th in the nation for starting teacher pay. And we just moved up. We were 50th until a couple weeks ago. Now we're 49th. Yay, go Missouri. 49th in educational funding. So they have pulled all this money for 22 years. We've had a GOP supermajority for 22 years, and they have pulled all this money from public schools. And we had some bad test scores come out after COVID. And these Republicans could not wait to jump in front of a camera or a microphone and say, see, we told you public schools are no good. We told you public teachers are no good. And what I say to that, who's been in charge of Missouri public schools for 22 years? Who has been in charge in defunding these schools and these teachers for all these years? There is not one Democrat elected statewide in my state. So when I was knocking doors, and I would be in Burlington Junction, and someone would come out and say, well, look at the roads, and then talk about Joe Biden. What's Joe Biden got to do with Burlington Junction? That's your state representative that defunded your schools. That's your state representative that took all the money from your public schools, that made all the hospitals close. In the 22 years that the GOP has been in control, we have lost 19 rural hospitals. There are places in the state where they have to drive an hour and a half to get medical care. And do you know what that looks like? That looks like someone needing care and going 2 hours and their family members sleeping in the car of that hospital because they can't sleep in the hospital, and because they can't afford a hotel for a week or 2 weeks, they are sleeping in their cars. This is what they want for the entire country. Missouri was the proving ground. Missouri ran the pilot program to Project 2025. So I know exactly what they want for the rest of this country. People would say, they don't mean to tank the economy, do they? Yes, they do. They do. Come to rural spots and see what happened. They hollowed it out by taking away our schools, and then there was all this farmland that was left, right? And they sold it at fire sale prices. And so the wealthy were able to come in and get it for pennies on the dollar. And now they can bring in CAFOs, concentrated animal feeding operations, and they can poison our air and poison our water with impunity. And there is no one left to say anything about it. There is no one left to say, you have to pay your fair share in taxes. We have to support these communities, because the communities are gone. And that's what they want to happen to the entire country. It's a shock and awe campaign right now. They are coming at us every single day. They are throwing so much news that we cannot stay focused. And that's purposeful. That's what they want. They want you to disengage. They want you to feel powerless. They want you to walk away and say, there's nothing I could do. But you're doing the work because you're here on a Saturday morning in rural parts of Michigan, and you know the work is in front of you. You know exactly what you need to do. In my community, in my race, I ran for state house. No Democrat has won this district in 32 years. We have never elected a woman. But I tell you what happened. I came here and I went to work, and I raised more money than any state legislative candidate in the entire state, including Columbia, Kansas City, and St. Louis. I raised more than anybody. And what happened? They had to pay attention. The GOP was like, what is going on in Northwest Missouri? What is she doing? They had to find a good candidate. They had these random candidates that were running that were absolutely insane. They had to go and spend money to find a candidate. And then they had to drop $100,000 in a race they haven't dropped a dime in decades. What would happen if we did that in every district? What if Michigan had someone running on every ballot, down ballot, city council, coroner, prosecutor, assessor? In this last election, I pulled a Democratic ballot, and because of that, I couldn't vote for one county office because there was not one Democrat running. I couldn't vote for state rep because there was no Democrat. I couldn't vote for sheriff because there was no Democrat. And so this has become the thing that I understand is what's wrong and how we come back. You know that guy, Mike Johnson, way up there in the federal government, second or third in line to the presidency? He's from Louisiana. Guess what? He ran unopposed almost every race. He was never opposed in Louisiana. And now he is doing the work of the Christian nationalists in the federal government. How could we have stopped him? By putting up opposition in Louisiana. How did people like Josh Hawley from my state end up wrecking the entire country? Because he ran basically unopposed over and over and over again. And so we have to stop the bleed by opposing everyone. The Republicans knew something that we didn't necessarily know, and something that we need to do from now on. And that is start at the grassroots level. Start with town councils. Start with school boards. what happened with the Republicans, and now they have the presidency and the House and the Senate, and they have captured SCOTUS. How did they do it? They started with the New Deal. They started back in the 30s. They knew what they were doing. They knew it was a long game. They knew it was going to take them a long time to win. And guess what, friends? They won. So we should take a few lessons from the Republicans in that manner. Listen, they have no policy. And that's why we're in trouble, because their only thing that they want to do is give tax cuts to the wealthy. They'll cut Medicare. They'll cut Medicaid. They'll cut SNAP. They'll cut school funding. They'll cut infrastructure funding because they want to give money to billionaires. They're willing to blow it all up. They're willing to go after all of it. They're focusing on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're focusing on trans kids. I don't know if you guys saw this, you probably did, but there was a man who went from the NCAA who went and did, stood in front of a committee, and they asked him, how many athletes in the NCAA are trans? He said less than 10. There are 550,000 athletes, and less than 10 are in college right now playing sports. That's the focus of the Republican Party. That's what they're going to focus on, a marginalized and oppressed group to make us what? Not vote in our self-interest? It's insanity when you say it out loud. They are disappearing people off the streets. They are not giving people due process. We have people being taken by people who have masks on their face, who aren't showing badges, who are taking them off in unmarked vehicles. And just like somebody in Congress had said to Kristi Noem, you can buy an ice vest off of Etsy for $20. We don't know where these people are going. This is perfect for human trafficking. We don't know what's happening, and nobody's willing to talk to us. So we have to remember, you guys have power. You are not powerless. You are showing up. You know that things like the SAVE Act are meant to make us feel powerless. The SAVE Act, if passed, it's already passed through House. I don't think that it'll pass through the Senate, but if it did, people like me would be hard pressed to vote. I changed my name when I got married, like many women did. I called my congressman when this passed because he voted for it. I said, what do I need to vote now if this passes through? And he said, your ID and your birth certificate. I said, those things don't match. My parents didn't know who I was going to marry when I was born. So he said, well, okay, then your birth certificate and your marriage certificate. And I said, okay, I mean, that's going to take money, right? It's going to be $15 for me to get a marriage certificate because I didn't keep it. And I said, by the way, does my husband need that marriage certificate to vote? And he said, well, of course not. You see the problem? You see the problem? This is only meant for women. And we sounded like lunatics for years when we said they don't want women to vote. Friends, they don't want women to vote. They do not. That is going to disenfranchise millions of women. They're stripping $880 billion for Medicaid. And you know it didn't pass yesterday. You know why? Because they didn't cut enough from Medicaid. Because it wasn't cruel enough. That's why they didn't pass that bill yesterday. People will tell me, and they may tell you the same thing. You get what you vote for. They'll look at red states or look at rural areas and say, this is your fault. Well, I can tell you this. Only 20% of the entire population of the United States is rural. There's no way we could have elected Trump even if every single one of us did it. It had to come from city and suburbs too. But here's another thing. Rural people are quite progressive. And if you look at a state like Missouri, you'll see we have legalized weed. We beat back an abortion ban. We beat back right to work. We expanded Medicaid. We did all these things with ballot initiatives because this is what you should know. Missouri is not red. Missouri's uncontested. And until we take care of that and we contest everything in every single race, it doesn't change. I've lived under the same party for 22 years. And every single time, and you can say this too, every single time they say it's the Democrats' fault. Which Democrats? What Democrats? They are not elected in this state. Everything that is going on in Missouri is because of the GOP. The problem also is with funding. They decided to only fund flippable or winnable races. How's that working out? That's what we have done for decades in Missouri, and now we don't have a Democrat elected statewide. We have to realize we go after the bench. We have to build a bench, and that means supporting and funding races that will not flip in a cycle. It means supporting people who will run for office and will not win, because we know eventually we come back. The attack on public schools, like I said, Betsy DeVos was a big part of this. She was asked something one time a few years ago by a reporter about rural spaces. Because you can give someone like me 20 vouchers, it doesn't matter. I don't have a place to take my daughter. The nearest private school is 56 miles away. And by the way, it's Catholic. I'm not Catholic. That's problematic too. But she said this. The reporter said, "What do you envision for school choice in rural areas?" And she said, "Well, the kids can go out in the fields in the morning with headphones and listen to great books. And when they're done working in the fields, they can find an apprenticeship at a John Deere factory. And then when they're done with that and they go home in the evening, their parents can hire a private tutor." The thing she said without saying it out loud is, rural kids are not worth an education. They're not worth brick and mortar buildings. They are not worth teachers. She said it. And here's the thing, friends, they meant it. Because in states like mine, while they're defunding education, they are also rolling back child labor laws, because that's what they intend for these kids. People say they're sending back so many workers, they're trying to deport, and it's actually not deporting, it's kidnapping, because there's no due process. They're sending people back who are here to work. What's the plan? Children. Children is the plan. No money to private religious schools. We have something called the separation of church and state, and I will stand on that over and over again. No taxpayer money should be going to a private religious school. None. These things end up being, these vouchers end up being coupons anyway. In my state, 2/3 of the people who got a voucher already had a kid in private school. They were already paying for it. In Arkansas, when they passed their voucher scheme, 95% of the people who got a voucher were already in a private school. This is what we know. It's not meant for poor kids. It's not meant for rural kids. It's meant to defund poor kids' school, defund rural kids' school, and send that money to people who are already paying for it. So here's what I want you to do. In 24, after Trump won, and I do this for a living, I'm an activist. I raise money for down ballot Democrats, and I speak all over the heartland. And I thought, I've had enough. It's scary in Missouri. I already know what's going to happen. So I put some money in my pocket and I went to Minnesota. And I thought, it's blue. I can buy some money on the Boundary Waters. If hell breaks loose, I can just canoe my way over to Canada, right? But Canada, of course, now would say, I don't think so, lady, head back to the States. But what I realized is that I was in rural spaces and I saw Trump flags everywhere. And I saw MAGA gear everywhere. And I turned on the radio and they were talking about Elon Musk and how he was going to find fraud, waste, and abuse, right? When he actually just wants your data. But it was in that moment that I realized there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to go. So I'm going to stay in Missouri and I'm going to fight in Missouri because this is my state too. We may be under a GOP supermajority, but I live here too. And so do 25% of the people who voted for me and 40% of the people who voted for Kamala Harris. We are not that red. I'm going to leave you with the quote because I was an English teacher for a long time. And this is from The Great Gatsby. And he's talking about all the wealth that was going on and what happened to regular people. And it was Nick, the narrator, who said, they smashed up things and creatures and then retreated back into their money or their vast carelessness or whatever it was that kept them together and let other people clean up the mess they had made. Thank you, friends.
Thank you. Bravo. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jess. I know we've got some time for some questions. If you're on Zoom, please put your question in the chat. And yeah, we have higher expectations and we want better opportunities for all kids. So, Jess has really given us some good messages. I'm going to take the chair's privilege and ask the first question. And this actually is from somebody who couldn't be here today. It's from Kim Steed. She said, I would really appreciate some guidance on being the only person on my dirt road in my neighborhood brave enough to put up and keep up my blue signs in a radical redneck area. My parents are 84 and 82 and vote blue, but they're afraid to put out signs, as are so many others. She says, I'm not afraid. I've never been afraid, just looking for some guidance. And Jess, I know you've gone into some pretty red areas and talked to people. And what kind of suggestion can you give us?
Keep your signs up. You are giving someone else the strength to put their sign up, or to know when they drive past your house that it's okay to vote for Democrats. There's a big misconception with people who are, in big cities. And I've heard people say, well, signs don't vote. They don't. But the people that drive by my house know it's okay to vote for a Democrat. And I also put up all the signs on the propositions. They figure out how to vote on these propositions when they drive by my house. You are helping someone else every time you stand up. So stand up, put those signs out. I still have the Harris sticker on the back of my car. I'm not getting rid of it, because when I drive down the road, or when I drive into these red areas, or just sitting in my own really rural red area, people know it's okay.
Great, thanks. Any questions in the, Jeff?
You can't stand there. You're not gonna stand.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's slide over here.
Oh, okay. Jess, I don't know you personally, but I know a lot of your work and, oops, sorry. I'm from Michigan, but I lived for 35 years in Missouri, in Springfield, Marshfield, in
Yes.
St. Louis, Missouri. So I know the state intimately. I worked for the Carnahan campaign, both
Russ.
for Mel Carnahan,
Yep.
his wife, when she took over, and for Russ Carnahan,
Yes.
down in Southwest, South St. Louis. But my question to you is knowing the state as I do, your part of the state's the only part that I don't know well. But, down in areas like Eminence and in the Current River and down in Branson and down near the Arkansas border and all of Southwest Missouri, Northwest Arkansas, you got the same thing. You've got the churches, which are such a big part of the social hierarchy and the political hierarchy, frankly, when you got like the Assembly of God in Springfield. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. What's your strategy for dealing with that sort of what I consider to be a massively organized, extremely right wing as a whole group that are working against democracy and all of the things that you talked about?
Well, so I'm originally from Arkansas, so I can talk to that, and I'm actually going to be
Okay.
on the Current River next
Oh,
weekend.
okay, yeah. Well, it's a
So,
beautiful place.
It is. I know all about that. So I often talk about the reasons that people vote against their self-interest, and indoctrination is one of them. And
Yeah.
that comes from churches. So I'm in a town of 480 people. There are 4 churches here. I don't have a place to buy, a gallon of milk, but there are that many churches here. So the indoctrination is real. I would knock on doors and people would agree with me, and then they would ask me, are you a Republican or Democrat? When I said I was a Democrat, they would say, I can't vote for you because I'm a Christian. That's indoctrination.
Exactly.
That is people that have heard from the pulpit that they cannot vote for Democrats. And
Right.
I'm hearing it explicitly. There's a church in St. Joseph, which is not far, about an hour down south of me. And he specifically gets up there. His name is Josh Blevins. He's in charge of a Baptist church, and he tells his parishioners who to vote for. And he says almost every weekend, this goes against our tax exempt status. And then he does it anyway, because he's never paid any consequences, because there are no consequences to preaching politics from the pulpit. And that's something that we all need to be aware of. We all need to understand what's going on, especially in the Bible Belt and in southern states. This is the reason they are able to win overwhelmingly. People will vote against their self-interest because of abortion. They'll vote against their self-interest because they think someone's coming after their guns. There's a couple of great books to read on this topic too. One is Democracy in Chains by Nancy McLean. There's one called Jesus and John Wayne, and I can't pronounce her name or I would tell you. There's another one, it's called God, Lies, and Country. And those 3 books, even I was a Southern Baptist, so I understand indoctrination. But those 3 books really told me what was going on. Just like you said, I mean, the Baptists didn't take a position on abortion until 77, 78, and Roe was passed in 73. And the reason is because of Jerry Falwell and his work and the moral, were they the majority or the minority? One or the other. But
Or a majority.
yeah. So these people came out and decided they could win elections if they pulled the evangelicals along with them. And you know what? They were right. They were right. And so we've got to remind people that preaching politics from the pulpit it's, your tax exempt status should go away, but also realizing that we're dealing with people that have decades of indoctrination.
Great, thank you. Any questions from Zoom? I think we're checking one message.
I would like to ask about the recent storm that went through St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
it was
Martha.
And because FEMA is going to be important there, and look what
we
we've done to them.
Yeah, we saw with Arkansas. I don't know if you saw that Sarah Huckabee Sanders requested FEMA funds, and the Trump administration said no. And so the same thing, Mike Kehoe, which is our Missouri governor, requested funds for. We had massive flooding in southern Missouri. I don't know that those funds have went through. The same thing will happen in St. Louis. So we're in the find out phase. Republicans are realizing that they don't have any more benefit being under this oligarchy than a Democrat. We're all under the same system now. We're all equal. Some of them are still standing up for a system that is about to rip everything from them. I mean, poor people shop at Walmart. What is Walmart doing? Raising their prices because of tariffs. These things are starting to impact people. Farmers in my area are not getting the funds that they're used to. The tariffs are going to, wreak havoc across the country. Soybeans are sold to China. Beef is sold to China. So losing these markets is going to be massive. And you guys know that in the first Trump administration, we gave money to farmers because of the tariff situation. They haven't approved any money yet for these farmers. So they're finding out too. So FEMA, farm programs, all these things, we're all finding out.
Well, the last time though, yes, the farmers also suffered with tariffs, especially soybean farmers. And what happened? The taxpayers had to make up the difference.
Yep.
That's what they're talking about again.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a question from Mary Roebling. Mary? Mary, unmute. Okay, Mary.
There.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. And I'm an independent minister, and I appreciate very much what you're saying about the faith traditions being involved with politics. There is indoctrination for sure, but I'm kind of adding on to a little bit of what you said. One of the things we found, or one of the things that churches know, is something called church growth. And in politics, what that's called is party building.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is you give people a place to gather. And when they have a place to gather, they begin to feel confident. They begin to feel like they can share ideas and bond. They eat food together. They break bread together. They begin to develop relationships that help them feel secure in a troubled time.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did in Benzie County, because we're up against that all the time with the faith traditions preaching from the pulpit, it's hard to attack them directly,
Yes.
but it is possible to strategize to build our own ship. And so what we did was make the sacrifice to build an office, which we're all in now. And we have generous people of all income groups who pay for our office. And over time, we now have sometimes over 100 people coming to our meetings. And people feel community. They feel secure. They feel like they aren't the only Democrat in the alley. And I have to say that both Jana and our former chair, Jim, advocate at the MDP level for the MDP to begin to give money to counties for offices. And so you can build your own ship without having to attack these guys directly. And it's an important strategy. We've been doing it, and it's something you can pass on to your wonderful listeners.
Thank you, Mary. I really appreciate that. And we know that, a lot of times people will point to religion and say that, people felt more connected back in the day when everyone was religious. And to that point, to Mary's point, people felt more connected when they were connected with people in real life. And so having a space that isn't necessarily religious all the time is really impactful to independents, to Democrats, and to non-believers to still feel their community, but not necessarily, be religious.
Are there any other questions in the room? Okay. Kat asks, how do we, we already got Mary. Kat asks, how do we call out the churches and get those that preach politics to lose their tax exempt status?
So every time I see that preacher in St. Joe do this, I submit a thing on the IRS website. I think it's Form 1038, but there is a form for tax exempt people who are doing things to break their tax exemption, and I report him every time. Does it matter? I don't know. I do it anyway, and I also have other people do it because he's outrageous. He stands up saying, I know I can't do this. I'm going to do it anyway. And so you can definitely go to the IRS and fill out that form.
That's helpful. Thank you. All right. Last call for any questions. Oh, sorry, Elizabeth. I didn't see you.
That's okay. I wanted to share an anecdote about the march that you had. I think it was back in March, right? Where you were gathered in the Congregational Church parking lot. Was that the?
Yeah, that was it. That was in April. Yeah.
That was in April. Well, I heard from people who attend that church that the poor pastor there, Patty Higgins, she did not think she was doing anything untoward or anything outrageous by allowing people to set up there and to park there and all that. But she has a small shrinking congregation anyway. That's a congregational church. Many of our, what we call mainline Protestant churches during COVID experienced there's a lot of moving around. I could see it in county. I belong to the Methodist Church in Frankfurt. They moved and switched churches. Some went to bigger churches. Some didn't come to church at all. So our membership shrank. And Patty just thought she was doing something nice. And apparently, no less than 2 families left that church over that issue, over just her allowing you to set up there. So that's the kind of pressure people are facing. And that's what I had heard from people who actually attend that church. But moving on, I wanted to thank you, Jess, for your awesome speech. And you're so inspiring and so plain spoken. You explain things so well. And I wondered if you would ever consider running for national office.
Well, the first time I ran for office, I got my husband fired. And so he has now found other employment that he enjoys, and he's asked me not to run until he's retired. So I likely will run for something again someday. But like I said, we're asking people to do a lot to run for office. It would be easier if it were state level or, at a national level. But I appreciate that question. Not now, but maybe later.
All right. Well, thank you, Jess. In case you aren't already following Jess on her many sites, she does have a Substack called The View from Rural Missouri. That if you read it, a lot of that applies to us here in Benzie County. And we are just so grateful that you gave us this time. We hope you come back again. And if you're ever in Michigan, if you go out of Missouri, come to Michigan and come to Benzie County. We would love to see you. We've got great cherry pie and gorgeous Great Lakes. And please let me have a really nice Benzie thank you for Jess Piper.
Thank you, friends. Thank Thank you for all you do. Goodbye.
Thanks, Jess. All right. Well, in my enthusiasm for you to hear Jess, I completely blew over Susan, who was going to give us some information about the 4th of July parades. Can you get back to that, please? So Susan did leave, close the transcript. Susan did leave some suggestions. We are obviously planning the 4th of July parade, which is on July 4th, as a reminder. And Susan is looking for, she did leave a note. Keep going, going. Okay. Please sign up either in the office or on the website if you want to get involved. Walk or ride. You could do one or both parades. We have the signs and the decor, thanks to Jane and to Holland, who did a fabulous job preparing us for these things. Yes, a big hand to them. Big hand to them. And because of that, there's really not much we need to do outside of show up, wear a sun hat, put your sunscreen on, and bring water. Bring your enthusiasm. We're going to be talking more about other things that people can do, but put that on your calendar. They're fun events, and it's important, as Jess said, to show up, make yourself known, let people know that we are proud Democrats. We are not afraid, and we think democracy is worth fighting for. So Susan will email people if you let her know you want to participate. And looking at my agenda, I think that's the only thing I forgot. Does anybody have any final words, closing words, thoughts? Anybody on Zoom?
Well, hello.
Barb?
Yeah, I was just going to say what we should have told her, how we have made the Republicans in our county get so much more together. They have their little office. I always wonder, does anyone ever stop in there on Mondays at 5:30? Apparently they meet every Monday at 5:30.
It's very funny you mentioned that, because I go to the salon that's right next to it.
Yeah,
So I
yes.
always feel funny because my car's parked in front of the building that says Benzie Republicans.
Right.
So I try to park far away.
Yeah.
But there is a shared restroom, and not giving you too much information. I do walk by, and on their door, which is always closed, they are offering a class in the Constitution. So I am really eager to see or hear how they are presenting the Constitution.
Interesting. Thanks.
We should go.
Yeah, yeah.
Jan, I had wondered if you could read. Sue Jennings shared some information about a meeting on Monday in Traverse City for supporting how to support migrants or people who are being taken. It's a training session.
I do not see that.
Yeah, I saw it in the chat.
Yeah.
It's at a place called UUCGT. 60, and she gave the address and everything.
Okay, wait a minute. We're just going through the chat now.
It's at
but
the very first one.
Oh, okay, keep going.
It's from Traverse City. Indivisible posted it, so I'm sharing that.
Is that the Know Your Rights training, Sue?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And can you go down, because there's to find some dates and times. So this is focusing on preparing community members to act as peaceful, faithful witnesses when actions are taken against our immigrant neighbors. It is May 19th, which is Monday. From 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at UUCGT, and that address is 6726 Center Road in Traverse. They do have an RSVP, although it's not required, but encouraged.
That's
so
the Unitarian Church on Old Mission.
Okay, thank you. Being Jewish, I'm not real familiar with this, but this sounds like a great training. Know your rights, and thank you, Sue, for sharing that. Certainly. Anybody have anything else?
Yeah, Jana, don't For those of you who knew him, Tom Stobie died on May 8th. He's Marcia, our former chair's husband, and he ran for the State House seat when we were in the 101st. He was superintendent at Frankfurt School and very involved in our community.
Thank you for that, Mary. I think a lot of people know him and know Marcia and extend their deepest sympathies to her. And Bill?
I just want to echo what you said about the 4th of July. Last year, I'm certain we had probably at least half again the number of folks, the number of folks marching than the Republicans had. And, I think what was said about having signs in your yard being a way to encourage others. And Jane did such a great job of getting all of us out. And I think particularly this year, showing exactly what you said, that we are still here, we are not defeated, we have lots of energy, and come and join us is a great message we could send. There's a lot of people at that parade. And so if there's any way you can be there and invite your friends.
Well, thank you for that, Bill. And also someone way smarter than me said courage is contagious. So, let's kind of keep that in the backs of our minds. And
so is fear. Fear is contagious.
Well, courage has to be stronger. Alice. Right. Wait for the magic microphone, Alice.
Along that same line, we all could go to the meeting on Monday night about the Constitution. I was invited by the chair when I met him at Save-A-Lot, and he saw that I was buying fruit, and I said, "It's for a Democratic meeting. You're welcome to come." I realized he had on a MAGA hat, and he said, "Well, that's so kind that you would invite me." And I said, "Yes, we should all work together." And he said, "You're welcome to come to our meeting." And I said, "I think you would be more welcome at ours than I would be at yours." But I helped him pick out his strawberries. He told me when to come to the meetings Monday night, 5:30. We should all go.
All right. Well, if you're not doing anything Monday night, Cindy Shapiro, Cindy, you've got a comment?
Oh, yeah. Is there contact information for Marcia Stobie?
I don't have it, but I will check with Mary and we'll get that out.
Yeah, I actually don't have it, but Becky Ogilvy does.
Okay, and Kat Hibbard reminds us if we're marching in the parade, wear your Democrats Deliver shirt or other blue. Make sure it's blue. Anything else? Gone. You guys are terrific. Have a great rest of the day. It looks like the sun's coming out. The rain has stopped. Thank you, everybody on Zoom. You're absolutely wonderful. Bravo.